Smart people think they can't be controlled. They believe they see through every trick, every manipulation, every little power play. But here is the unsettling truth. That very belief is the key that opens the door to the most dangerous mind trap of all. This trap isn't designed for the gullible or the weak. It's custom-built for the confident, the analytical, the people who trust their own judgment so completely that they never noticed when someone else is quietly steering the wheel. This is the mechanism that turns even the most brilliant minds into puppets, all while they believe they are the masters of their own destiny. The trap begins with a simple seductive yushun. I make my own decisions. Skilled manipulators don't fight this belief. They nurture it. They praise your intelligence, compliment your rationality, and reinforce your sense of being in control. They make you feel like the smartest person in the room. Why? Because once you're fully invested in the idea of your own mental fortress, you stop checking the perimeter. You stop questioning your own thoughts. And that's the precise moment they begin to slip ideas, beliefs, and doubts into your mind, all cleverly disguised as your own original thinking. Think about it. Smart people pride themselves on logic. They build their world on facts, evidence, and rational deduction. But every master manipulator knows a fundamental secret about the human brain. Logic is incredibly fragile. It shatters under the weight of strong emotion, a sudden jolt of fear, a pang of guilt, a rush of validation from someone you admire, and your brain goes into survival mode. It takes a shortcut. You stop analyzing and you start reacting, and in that moment, your intelligence becomes your enemy. It starts working overtime, not to question the emotion, but to justify it. You'll build elaborate, logical arguments for why you suddenly feel angry, or why you urgently need to make a certain decision. You're no longer thinking. You're just rationalizing an emotional impulse that was planted there. And just like that, the strings are attached. This is how puppets are made. Manipulators rarely try to change your core beliefs directly. That's clumsy and obvious. It sets off alarm bells. Instead, they do something far more subtle and effective. They shift the frame. They change the context around your decisions. They subtly alter what you consider normal or acceptable. They expand the scope of what you feel responsible for. They introduce new things you should be worried about or new goals you should aspire to. It's like changing the rules of a game while you're still playing. Once they control the frame, your decisions will naturally fall into place to fit that new reality. It feels completely organic, like it was your idea all along. You pull the strings yourself, never realizing the puppeteer is the one who positioned them in the first place. Imagine you're negotiating a deal. You've done your research, you know your numbers, you're confident. A manipulator won't argue your logic. Instead, they might say something like, "Look, we both know this is about more than just numbers. It's about building a long-term partnership based on trust." Suddenly, the frame has shifted. It's no longer a simple transaction. Now, if you push too hard on your logical points, you risk being seen as untrustworthy, as someone who isn't a partner. They've reframed your assertiveness as a moral failing. Your own mind, wanting to be seen as a good and trustworthy person, will start to concede points you logically shouldn't. You're being controlled not by force, but by a new, invisible emotional framework. Another powerful technique is what's known as negative framing. This is where they control you by constantly highlighting potential threats and worst-case scenarios. They create a world where you're always on the defensive, always trying to prevent something bad from happening. A boss might say, "The economy's tough right now, and other departments are facing cuts. We need to show exceptional results, just to stay safe." The frame is no longer about growth and success. It's about survival. Under that pressure, you'll work longer hours, accept more responsibilities, and question less. All because you believe you're acting rationally to protect yourself and your team. You're not being ambitious. You're being manipulated by fear. So, how do you escape? How do you break free from a trap you can't even see? The answer isn't about becoming smarter or more logical. Your intelligence is already there. The key is to become more aware. It starts with developing the habit of pausing. Before you react emotionally, pause. Before you agree to something that feels slightly off, pause. Before you accept a new frame for a situation, pause and question it. Ask yourself, Where did this thought come from? Why am I feeling this emotion so strongly right now? Who benefits from me seeing the world this way? This act of pausing and questioning is like shining a bright light into the dark corners of your mind. It's in that moment of quiet reflection that you start to see the strings. You notice the subtle shift in language. You detect the emotional trigger. You see the frame for what it is, a construct, not a reality. And the moment you truly see the strings, they lose their power. A puppet that knows it's a puppet is no longer a puppet. It's an actor who can choose to play along, or simply walk off the stage. Ultimately, the smartest people aren't the ones who can't be fooled. They're the ones who are humble enough to admit they can be. They understand that the mind trap was never really about intelligence. It was about ego. It was the ego that said, "I'm too smart for that." It was the ego that craved validation. It was the ego that refused to question its own brilliance. The moment you let go of that ego, the moment you accept your own vulnerability, you become truly powerful. You stop being a puppet waiting for a master and become the architect of your own mind. And that is a freedom that no manipulator can ever take away. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content on psychology and self. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and always question the frame.